Here's what unfolds when massive corporations acquire revolutionary talent that could make their entire leadership obsolete. The established executives can't eliminate this threat because shareholders would revolt and consumers would flee entirely. Instead, they execute something much more calculated. They suffocate this game-changing talent through relentless micromanagement. They position them behind declining veterans who abandoned innovation years ago, and when forced to address this phenomenon publicly, they carefully select language that erodes professional respect while reinforcing exactly who maintains ultimate authority.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. You know, this is a group that hasn't been along or been together very long. We've kind of mixed the matchups, mixed the rotations. We played our players a little bit longer stretches than what we had done in the first two games. And so I thought initially they got off to a good start. I probably played them a little bit too long of a stretch at some of them got a little bit.
Currently, we're observing this corporate strategy play out in real time on the international basketball arena. The USA women's national team isn't functioning as an elite athletic organization focused on championship dominance. They're behaving precisely like a desperate Fortune 500 company, absolutely petrified of their own unstoppable transformation. The seasoned players have completely hijacked coaching strategies, demanding their established hierarchy remains protected regardless of consequences, even when it means systematically dismantling the team's offensive capabilities.
Yeah, I was yelling at them the other day. I was calling them peanut butter and jelly because they were in the wrong place. But it's really cool, man. A respect for the game, and they just constantly they're constantly getting better. Whether it's defensively, offensively, IQ wise, you know when they're missing, and that's the compliment to any player. You want them on the floor. They impact the game in different ways.
For 3 consecutive games in this global competition, audiences worldwide have endured excruciating, lethargic, completely unwatchable basketball executed under veteran point guard Chelsea Gray's direction. And throughout 3 straight contests, the most devastating offensive force in basketball history, the single most valuable and productive player the sport has ever witnessed, Caitlin Clark has remained permanently anchored to the bench. International press, furious supporters, and billion-dollar sponsors investing heavily in this league are all demanding immediate answers. They're questioning why such an irreplaceable asset continues being systematically marginalized on the planet's most prestigious platform.
Coach Tibbetts did not give us a reason as to why Caitlin Clark did not start this game, which is quite odd to me. A lot of people was very happy seeing Nate Tibbetts as the coach. He did a fantastic job running a fluid offense. I thought it was great, but overall, we need answers as to why we're not seeing Caitlin Clark implemented into this starting lineup. I don't want to hear nothing about Chelsea Gray being the starter. They said that they was going to rotate the starters, and we have yet to see Caitlin Clark be rotated in. There's only 2 more games left, bro. My goodness, Chelsea Gray has started 3 games in a row.
During a brief coaching transition, when Nate Tibbetts assumed leadership responsibilities following their recent victory, something remarkable occurred. The offensive system actually began functioning seamlessly, primarily because the sheer talent of younger athletes simply overpowered the obsolete veteran-dominated framework. However, when a journalist directly confronted Tibbetts about analyzing the specific rotation that completely transformed the game's momentum, that explosive high-tempo unit constructed around Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers, and Angel Reese, he delivered a masterclass demonstration of corporate doublespeak and leadership cowardice.
Caitlin Clark did good, man. She played very good in the first half. 17 points, 12 assists, double-double for Caitlin. And why she has not been implemented into the starting lineup, I have no clue, man. We just got to wait and see, dog, I guess. Guys, get down in the comments section right now. Let me know.
Consider the absolute contradiction and transparent mental contortions embedded within his statement. He openly admits appreciating that group's innovative creativity. He acknowledges loving their exceptional shooting precision. He's literally confirming publicly that this exact lineup, driven entirely by Caitlin Clark's relentless tempo and supernatural court awareness, represented the most dynamic, efficient, and commanding presence throughout the entire contest. He recognizes their perfect floor spacing, aggressive rebounding, and complete opponent domination. Yet he cannot simply praise them. He cannot declare them the obvious organizational future and commit to promoting them into starting positions, because that would entirely compromise the veteran starting 5 that USA Basketball's power structure has sworn to preserve. What's his corporate crisis management strategy? He immediately diminishes their undeniable success by suggesting he possibly kept them active slightly too long and implying they appeared somewhat exhausted. This exemplifies classic, profoundly cynical executive manipulation. When your reserve unit dramatically surpasses your primary unit across every quantifiable metric, you must fabricate some fictional deficiency to justify reverting to the inferior alternative. Tibbetts is intentionally and maliciously insinuating that this remarkably efficient, wildly captivating lineup cannot handle starting duties because they allegedly lack stamina, conditioning, or veteran composure. He's constructing the political justification to maintain Chelsea Gray in the starting role, despite overwhelming, irrefutable statistical evidence that this team operates on a completely different, vastly superior plane when Caitlin Clark directs the offense. But the coaching manipulation represents only half of this destructive suppression operation. The genuine toxicity, the absolute poisonous essence of corporate envy currently contaminating USA Basketball's environment, became fully revealed moments later through Chelsea Gray's own words. When asked to evaluate the rapid development and undeniable influence of Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers, Gray received a career-defining opportunity. She could have demonstrated authentic, confident veteran guidance. She could have celebrated their generational capabilities. She could have acknowledged their enormous historical impact on women's basketball's global economics and gracefully welcomed them as the unquestionable future of the program she helped build. Instead, she faced those microphones and deliberately elected to publicly embarrass them. The words that emerged from her mouth expose a frightening degree of unchecked arrogance, suffocating pride, and flagrant disrespect. Chelsea Gray sits before an international audience, addressing worldwide sports media, and intentionally decides to treat the two most famous, accomplished, and globally recognized athletes on her entire team like inexperienced children. She labels them peanut butter and jelly, employing juvenile terminology to describe deadly professional competitors. She ensures the world understands she had to shout at them for allegedly being incorrectly positioned. This isn't veteran guidance, this isn't leadership, this represents psychological warfare. This demonstrates how profoundly insecure legacy personnel desperately attempt to establish fraudulent dominance over newcomers who are fundamentally superior across every measurable dimension. Gray comprehends the brutal truth. She understands her starting position exists exclusively through political protection from the veteran establishment. She realizes that when Caitlin Clark enters the game, everything accelerates exponentially, the cross-court deliveries become surgical, the offensive geometry reaches perfection, and the team achieves mathematical optimization that Gray can no longer provide. Since Chelsea Gray cannot outperform Caitlin Clark on the basketball court, since she cannot match her production, efficiency, or gravitational influence, she attempts to diminish her through media manipulation. She wants audiences to perceive Clark and Bueckers not as apex competitors ready to dominate the entire league, but as confused, inconsistent rookies who desperately require wise veterans screaming at them about proper positioning. It's pathetic, obvious, and profoundly humiliating corporate insecurity, and supporters are completely rejecting this fabricated narrative. The global sports marketplace is highly sophisticated, completely analytical, and absolutely merciless. They don't value seniority systems, they don't respect paying traditional dues, and they certainly don't prioritize protecting fragile emotions of veteran point guards who are actively choking the entire offensive system. One content creator perfectly articulates the overwhelming, unfiltered rage of the consumer base. The frustration is completely warranted. Chelsea Gray has initiated 3 straight games, while Caitlin Clark hasn't started once. This isn't random circumstance, this is meticulously calculated, this is completely deliberate, and it's entirely driven by absolute paralyzing fear. Women's basketball's veteran establishment is currently waging a massive multi-dimensional war to maintain their deteriorating cultural and economic dominance. They're confronting billionaire WNBA ownership in collective bargaining negotiations, actively threatening to demolish the entire 2026 season because they're demanding a 50% revenue distribution that their historical viewership statistics absolutely cannot justify. Simultaneously, they're conducting a bitter, toxic internal campaign against Caitlin Clark, desperately trying to suppress the very asset that's actually generating the billion-dollar revenue they're attempting to extract from owners. They're functioning under the catastrophic misconception that they are the product. Chelsea Gray and the militant veterans genuinely believe millions of new supporters filling arenas are arriving to watch them methodically advance the ball up court, execute stagnant half-court sets, consume shot clock, and lecture younger athletes about predetermined spacing. They don't understand consumers are actively and aggressively rejecting their basketball philosophy. Consumers demand blazing speed, Consumers want 30-foot transition threes launched effortlessly from the logo. Consumers want no-look cross-court precision passes threaded through microscopic defensive windows. Consumers want Caitlin Clark, and despite being benched, despite being publicly patronized by envious teammates, despite performing under coaches actively attempting to restrict her minutes and contain her massive impact, Caitlin Clark continues absolutely annihilating competition with ruthless, emotionless, unstoppable mathematical supremacy. Those statistics don't deceive. You cannot dispute generating assists at that elite frequency off the bench in limited minutes. You cannot suppress game-altering double-doubles. You cannot manufacture public relations campaigns against raw, undeniable historical greatness. Every single time Caitlin Clark handles that basketball, she exposes the veteran establishment for exactly what they represent: a terrified, aging corporate board attempting to halt a massive, unstoppable tsunami with crumbling infrastructure. Coaching personnel can execute whatever political strategies they prefer. They can start Chelsea Gray for the duration of this international competition. They can allocate maximum minutes strategically to create artificial rivalries and divide the fan base. They can occupy podiums complaining about young athletes displaying fatigue or positional confusion. But free markets remain undefeated. Corporate financial reports don't lie and don't accommodate emotions. Massive corporate sponsors, television executives at TNT and ESPN, and billionaire owners who actually authorize paychecks are monitoring this pathetic exhibition of petty jealousy while documenting detailed, meticulous observations.
They witnessed WNBA veterans actively undermining the greatest economic asset in sports history, simply to protect fragile egos. And when that WNBA-CBA deadline officially arrives in the coming days, when owners present their final, brutal, absolutely non-negotiable proposal across boardroom tables, they'll confront these militant veterans directly and remind them of one undeniable, unforgiving reality about the hyper-capitalist system. You don't negotiate empire terms when you're actively restricting its expansion.